You know, when you picture the Great Wall of China, you probably imagine one long continuous wall stretching across the mountains. But the reality? It's so much more complex, and honestly, way more staggering than that. This isn't just a wall, it's one of the most ambitious and long-lasting engineering projects in all of human history. It's a story written in earth and stone, spanning thousands of years. So let's get into how this monumental project actually came to be.
To really get a handle on the sheer scale of this thing, let's start with a number. After a massive 5-year government survey, the official total length was announced. And it's just mind-boggling. Over 21,000 kilometers. To put that in perspective, that's more than half the circumference of the entire planet. Just let that sink in.
So here's how we're going to break down this epic story. We'll start with a history of how it was built. Then we'll dig into why it was such a major turning point for China. We'll look at its lasting effects, uncover some pretty surprising secrets hidden within the wall itself, and finally, we'll talk about what this incredible structure can teach us today.
All right, first up, the construction. Now, the most important thing to realize is that the Great Wall wasn't a single project, not even close. It was an ongoing effort that stretched over more than 2,000 years, changing and evolving with every dynasty that worked on it.
The very first sections were built way back in the spring and autumn period. And get this, they weren't built to keep out northern invaders. They were built by rival states to protect themselves from each other. It was the famous Emperor Qin Shi Huang who first had the vision to link these separate walls into one massive defensive line. But that iconic, grand, stone-faced wall that we all recognize today, that was largely the work of the Ming Dynasty, which was the final and by far the most intensive phase of building.
What's really fascinating is the huge technological leap you can see over time. The earliest walls are actually pretty ingenious. The builders just used whatever was around them. They'd ram earth, sand, or even desert reeds between wooden frames to create these really durable earthen walls. But fast forward a few centuries to the Ming Dynasty, and they're using much more advanced methods. They're quarrying stone, firing up kilns to make massive amounts of bricks, and binding it all together with a super strong mortar.
So who actually did all this backbreaking work? Well, it was a huge cross-section of society. The main workforce was made up of soldiers who were already stationed at the frontier. But their numbers weren't enough, so they were joined by millions of conscripted peasants, basically civilians pulled from their farms to serve the state. And for many, working on the wall was a punishment. Convicts and exiles were often sentenced to forced labor on the wall, which meant grueling work under absolutely brutal conditions.
All of this incredible effort in engineering and manpower, it really begs the question, why was this so important? Well, the wall's construction was a massive turning point because its purpose went way beyond just being a simple defensive barrier.
For Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the wall was a brilliant two-for-one strategic move. First, by connecting those northern walls, he created a unified front against nomadic horsemen like the Xiongnu. But here's the clever part. At the same time, he ordered the destruction of all the internal walls that had separated the old rival states. So the Great Wall didn't just define China's northern border, it helped erase the old divisions within the country itself.
And you have to remember, we're talking about an age of swords and arrows here. This wasn't just a wall, it was a complete military system. The watchtowers were like an ancient telegraph, sending signals rapidly down the line. The fortresses were hubs for troops and supplies, and the wall itself was specifically designed to stop the #1 military threat of the day: fast-moving cavalry. Horses just couldn't get over or through it easily.
The construction of the wall had consequences that have echoed down through the centuries, creating a legacy that goes way beyond its original military purpose.
For starters, its military presence helped protect the vital trade routes of the Silk Road. That security fostered centuries of economic and cultural exchange between Asia and Europe. It also spurred development all along China's northern frontier. And here's something you might not expect. It's even become a valuable tool for modern scientists. They use its precisely dated sections as a kind of yardstick to study everything from how rivers have shifted to the frequency of earthquakes. And, of course, today it stands as a global symbol of Chinese perseverance and ingenuity.
But believe it or not, the wall still has some secrets to tell. And amazingly, some of its oldest building materials are now revealing brand new information about the ancient world it was built in.
What if the very materials themselves, the reeds, the dirt, the mortar, could actually speak to us? Well, it turns out they can. They're revealing a story that was locked away for thousands of years.
So, out in the deserts of western China, the builders used layers of local reeds to strengthen the rammed earth walls. These reeds have been perfectly preserved in the dry climate for over 2,000 years. They're basically organic time capsules. Scientists are now analyzing them to reconstruct the ancient climate, figuring out things like how much rainfall there was and what the environment was really like when those sections were built.
But the wall holds another incredible secret, and this one has to do with its amazing durability. You see, the brick and stone sections built by the Ming Dynasty are famously tough, but their strength didn't just come from the stone. It came from a very surprising and honestly kind of brilliant ingredient they put in the mortar.
Are you ready for this? The secret ingredient was sticky rice. Yep, you heard that right. Builders would cook sticky rice into a thick paste and then mix it into the standard lime mortar. It turns out the amylopectin in the rice acted as a powerful binder, creating a super dense structure that was way stronger and more water-resistant than regular mortar. It's like an ancient form of high-tech composite material.
So, when you put it all together, what does this epic story really teach us? Well, the Great Wall is more than just a structure. It's a monument to the absolute extremes of human capability. So what are the big takeaways? First, incredible ingenuity. The ability to adapt and build with whatever you have, whether it's desert reeds or sticky rice. Second, perseverance on a scale that's hard to even imagine across thousands of years and countless generations. And third, ambition. This is proof of what we can achieve when we work together. But we also have to face the staggering human cost. Millions of laborers are thought to have died during its construction. That's a tragic fact that you just can't separate from the monument's grandeur. This quote really says it all. It's a powerful reminder that behind the epic scale and the architectural genius is the story of countless individual lives. The Great Wall isn't just a monument made of stone and earth. It's a testament to the sweat, the sacrifice, and the sheer force of human will that brought it into existence.